The forbidden World War II shelter that outsmarted winter, war, and modern preppers. Cold doesn't kill first, exposure does. And centuries before World War II forced nations to relearn survival the hard way, Arctic settlers had already solved the problem so completely that the knowledge was later ordered to disappear. Not forgotten, not lost, silenced. This is the silent Viking home technique. A low-profile shelter system so effective it embarrassed modern engineering, unnerved military planners, and quietly shaped some of the most desperate survival decisions of the 20th century. This is wisdom from the frontlines, the kind that works when comfort fails. The problem winter always creates. Extreme cold isn't just about temperature. It's about wind, moisture, calorie loss, and psychological fatigue. Arctic settlers understood this long before insulation companies or survival manuals existed. They knew that fighting the cold head-on was a mistake. Heat bleeds upward. Wind strips warmth sideways. Standing structures invite storms to attack from every angle. So they did something radical. They stopped building houses that challenged nature and started building homes that disappeared into it. The silent Viking home was not a cabin. It was a thermal system disguised as land. Built partially underground, banked with earth, turf, and compacted snow, this shelter used the planet itself as insulation. Soil temperature a few feet below ground remained stable even during deep winter. That stability was the real fuel source. No constant fire needed, no towering chimney giving away position. Just physics doing the heavy lifting. Why this home was ordered never to be taught. Fast forward to World War II. Armies fighting in frozen regions learned a brutal lesson. Traditional tents and wooden huts hemorrhaged heat and morale. Fuel supply lines snapped. Frostbite crippled units faster than enemy fire. Meanwhile, military observers noticed something uncomfortable. Indigenous and old settler shelters were outperforming official structures with fewer resources and less effort. Low heat signature, minimal materials, near invisibility from a distance, quick construction. These were not just homes, they were tactical assets. Teaching soldiers how to build shelters that required less fuel and left almost no visible trace raised a serious problem. Armies depend on logistics, control, and standardization. A system that let small groups survive independently, off-grid and unseen, was not something every authority wanted widely shared. So documentation thinned, training manuals skipped it. The technique faded from official channels, surviving only in fragments and whispers. So, here's how the silent Viking home actually worked. This shelter started with a shallow excavation, not a deep hole. Digging too far, well, that just wastes energy and really increases the risk of collapse. The goal was shoulder depth, just enough to sink the living space below the wind level. The walls were packed with turf blocks or dense soil. But honestly, the roof mattered most. It was a low arch built from overlapping materials, sealed with earth, and then, once winter arrived, snow was packed on top. You see, snow wasn't the enemy. Snow was insulation. Inside, the layout was tight. Not cramped, just tight. That small air volume meant there was less heat to maintain. Sleeping platforms were raised because, as you might know, cold air sinks. Entry tunnels were narrow and angled, acting as cold traps so frigid air would settle before reaching the living space. With that setup, even one small fire pit or oil lamp could warm the interior, because the heat had nowhere to escape. Ventilation existed, but honestly, just barely. There was only enough to prevent smoke buildup. Too much airflow was death. Everything in there had a purpose. Nothing was decorative. Why modern prepping still gets this wrong? You know, today's survival culture really obsesses over gear, gadgets, shiny solutions. But the Silent Viking home, honestly, just laughs at all of it. This shelter doesn't rely on technology. Instead, it relies on understanding energy flow. You don't fight the environment, you shape it. During World War II, troops that improvised earth-sheltered positions survived longer with fewer supplies. This wasn't just theory, it was lived experience. Yet the lesson is still ignored. Many modern preppers, they plan to bug out with tents and portable heaters, but that's a fuel countdown, not a strategy. The Silent Viking approach, well, it flips the script. Build once, stay warm passively, preserve calories, reduce exposure, and, yeah, stay invisible. Built fast when it matters. Here's the part that still shocks engineers. Variations of this shelter could be built in under an hour by 2 experienced people using only hand tools. Earth walls went up fast because, well, the material was already there. Roofing materials were scavenged, snow sealed everything. No lumber deliveries, no power tools, no waiting. That speed mattered during sudden storms and wartime displacement. It still matters now. Psychological survival was really baked into the design. Cold breaks the mind before it breaks the body. The Silent Viking home addressed this too. Low ceilings trapped warmth and sound, creating a cocoon effect. Darkness was controlled. Firelight reflected off packed earth created a sense of safety. These shelters were quiet. Wind screamed overhead while inside felt still. That contrast preserved morale. World War II winter campaigns showed that soldiers with even marginal shelter fought better, thought clearer, and resisted despair longer. Shelter wasn't just protection, it was mental armor. So, why is this knowledge resurfacing now? Well, energy costs are on the rise, and the weather is just getting less and less predictable. Our dependence on the grid, yeah, that's increasing the risk for everyone. Suddenly, those old techniques aren't just a thing of the past. They're not coming back out of nostalgia, but honestly as a form of insurance. The Silent Viking home doesn't replace modern housing. It complements preparedness. It's a fallback that works when supply chains fail and rescue is just not coming. It's a reminder that, humans survived brutal environments long before central heating existed. This isn't about going backward. It's about remembering what worked when failure, well, meant death. The real lesson isn't to copy ancient shelters exactly, it's to adopt the mindset. Use the environment instead of resisting it. Reduce complexity. Build low. Stay hidden. Preserve energy. Let physics work for you. World War II forced these lessons back into the light. Then they were buried again under convenience and comfort. Until now. If this kind of hard-earned wisdom matters to you, if you believe real preparedness comes from understanding, not owning, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Wisdom from the Frontlines. Share this with someone who still thinks survival is about buying more stuff. And stay sharp, because the past still knows things we've forgotten.